At the reunion, he was the picture of success, with his stunning girlfriend by his side. "If you hadn't let him go," she said, her eyes fixed on me, "you'd be Mrs. Sterling of Sterling Industries right now." He sat across the table, his arm around his girlfriend, his face a mask of indifference. That's all water under the bridge. The crowd, always hungry for drama, ate it up, egging us on. Under his gaze, I instinctively covered the scar on my wrist, forcing a smile. "Yeah, we're ancient history." "Wasn't it you who broke up with him, Tara?" someone asked, taking advantage of the girlfriend's trip to the restroom. Tara was me. Across the table, Cole Sterling's lips curved in a small smile, but his eyes remained distant, almost cold. It had been 6 years since the breakup, our first encounter since then. It had been completely unexpected. I'd only come because the reunion organizer said Cole wouldn't make it. The Cole Sterling in front of me was an entirely different person. He was a hotshot in the city, a young entrepreneur, a prodigal son returned. He was impeccably dressed, his features even sharper than I remembered. The watch on his wrist alone probably cost more than my car. People were practically bowing to him. I, on the other hand, well, things hadn't been so smooth on my end. "That's right, she ended things," Cole confirmed, his tone casual, answering the question like it was just about the weather. The room filled with assumptions. That I was a gold digger, that I couldn't handle hard times, that I'd bet on the wrong horse and lost everything. "Didn't I hear you were with some dude who ended up behind bars, Tara?" another classmate asked, her tone like nails on a chalkboard. "And you're paying off his debts now? You came here for handouts?" Through the taunting, Cole's calm, intense gaze never left me. He didn't say a word. I forced a smile, not giving them the satisfaction of a reaction. The door swung open, and his girlfriend returned, her brow furrowed as she took in the changed atmosphere. She smiled, a dimple flashing in her cheek. "What did I miss?" Cole's face softened, his arm finding her hand. "Nothing, just catching up with old friends." She took her seat, her gaze lingering on me. She gave me that smile again, a little too sweet. "Cole's mentioned you. Said if you hadn't let him go, you'd be running Sterling Industries with him." A few people couldn't hide their smirks. Back in the day, when my family had been riding high, I'd been the center of the universe. The envy hadn't faded, it had just morphed into a desire to see me fall. Cole broke the tension, his voice clear and cool, not tolerating arguments. "That was a long time ago." Everyone shut up, understanding that the big boss didn't want to continue down that road, and the conversation shifted elsewhere. His girlfriend raised her wineglass towards me. "Thank you for the handoff. We hope to see you at the wedding." I hid my wrist scar, my smile feeling as fake as a $3 bill. "Congratulations. Why didn't you set the record straight?" my best friend, Chloe, demanded over the phone. The reunion had ended early. I stood in the biting cold, a cloud of breath in the air. "He's got a girlfriend." The other line fell silent. "He's got a girlfriend?" Chloe asked in disbelief. "Yeah." Couples wandered off, the streetlights catching the snow-covered ground like shattered glass. "After all the effort you put in to see him again." "Chloe, nobody waits forever. Some things, left unsaid, are best left that way. I'm giving up." I'd tried hard to pull myself together, to meet him again in a dignified manner, but it was too late. "Okay, we can talk when you're back here." It was freezing outside. Taxis were hard to come by. My hands were numb. The app said, "Currently in a queue." Behind me, I heard the click-clack of heels and a woman's soft voice. "The snow is beautiful, honey. It's cold out, get in the car first. I'll be right there." That was Cole's distinctive voice. "Okay, hurry." As she walked past me to the waiting car, her gaze met mine, lingering with an unspoken message. She opened the door, and that bracelet on her wrist gleamed in the light, the Sterling family heirloom. I'd worn it before, but had returned it to him. She wasn't just his girlfriend. She was his fiancée. The crowd had dispersed. It was just me and him. My cab hadn't shown up yet. Cole was still behind me, quiet. Two shadows overlapped on the snowy ground beneath the street lamp. My mind drifted back to the night of our breakup. Cole had been in an accident on the way to see me. His friend had called, his voice sharp. "Cole's at the hospital. Is he in critical condition? Wouldn't you know if you hadn't bailed on him? Take care of him, please." "Tara, he was gonna make something of himself. Why couldn't you have just waited? You're so obsessed with money. All he did for you, you gonna forget it all?" Then the phone had been snatched, and the line went dead. It was like I'd abandoned him. It was natural for him to hate me. "How much do you owe?" Cole's voice pulled me back. It was cold. "None of your business." I inhaled the frigid air. My throat, irritated by the wine, was suddenly on fire. I coughed violently. The cold air tore into my airways. I bent over, grabbing the lamppost as the wine roiled in my stomach. Tears streamed from my eyes. Cole stood there, watching. My taxi finally pulled up. The driver leaned over. "Going to the West Hills?" "Yes." I pushed myself up, opened the door, and then my arm was grabbed, pulling me back. I stumbled into Cole's arms. "What are you doing out there?" West Hills was the wealthy part of town. Nobody got in there easily. I pulled away, trying to free myself. His hot skin seared my heart. I couldn't break free. I stared at his dark expression. "What do you want, Mr. Sterling?" He pressed his lips together, a darkness in his eyes, emotions hidden. The wind howled around us, tugging at my hair. I forced a smile, spelling out the obvious conclusion. "Just like everyone else, you think I make my money the wrong way, don't you? $5,000 a month, is that enough?" His voice cut through the cold, stopping me in my tracks. "What are you talking about?" A hint of mockery finally rose to his eyes. "You need money, right? 5, 10, a couple 10,000? What's it gonna take?" I raised my hand, slapping him so hard the sound echoed in the empty street. A red mark bloomed on his cheek. I could hear a woman gasp. His girlfriend got out of the car and ran towards us. "Live your own damn life. And keep your hands off me," I said before getting in the taxi and leaving. "You slapped him?" Chloe poured me a mug of hot water. "Yeah. He was trying to pay me off." I huddled into the couch, trying to ignore the stomach cramps, and sipped the water. After a minute, I sprinted to the bathroom and threw up. Chloe rubbed my back. "Your stomach's a mess, and you're drinking?" I spat out the water, wiping my mouth. My throat burned. Was it worth it, all these years? I stared at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were red-rimmed, and my hair clung to my forehead, making me look pale and weak. Chloe's voice, far away, seemed blurry. "If you hadn't broken up with him, he wouldn't be where he is today." I thought of Cole's fiancée. Her face glowed. She was bright and beautiful, and I remembered being that way, too. But I'd fallen too far, and by the time I'd clawed my way out, everything was different. Chloe finished her shift, and we walked home, the streetlights reflecting in puddles. My phone buzzed. Cole's friend, Mark, was calling. "Tara, if you're having a hard time, I could try to get you something." I said nothing, waiting to hear what he was really calling for. "They're getting married next month. Sarah's a good woman, and her family has connections. I won't bother him again. You have my word." He hesitated. "We just want Cole to be happy." Yeah. Everyone was on his side, no matter what. Chloe's eyes were watering when I hung up. "They don't know anything. It's okay." I needed a new job now that I was staying longer, so I looked around, and luckily a local place called me for an interview. During it, the HR person asked suspiciously, "You've had a history of depression, is that correct?" It was in the past. "I'm fine now. I have a doctor's note if you'd like to see it." Previous jobs had rejected me after the background check because of that. But this small company seemed okay, and I was offered a position that evening. I thought the reunion was the last time I'd cross paths with Cole. But 3 days later, Cole walked into my workplace as the new owner. And they moved my desk right in front of his office. I'm not doing this. Fine. Cole didn't even look up, his voice icy. Submit your resignation to HR. I laughed. So, you're firing me because I refused to move my desk? He stopped writing, finally looking at me. I'm giving you options. What makes you think I care about you? I knew he was goading me. I know you don't, Mr. Sterling. I'm not scared of you. Cole nodded slightly. Okay, close the door on the way out. And turn your chair to face away from me. I don't want to look at your face. After that, we barely interacted. Then, a week later, the company had a team building event. Being the new girl, they pressured me into drinking too much. Tara, you'll get docked if you don't drink. Relax, we'll take you home, we're all girls here. My manager kept pushing drinks on me. I chugged the last one, and the world spun out of control. I woke up in a massive bed the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the window. I sat up, the soft robe falling from my shoulders. I went to the living room. Cole was reading the newspaper, wearing the same style robe. He glanced up as I entered. You're up. Breakfast is on the table. Go back to sleep if you want. A chill went through me. He tossed the paper down, unbuttoning his collar, revealing a love bite. Bad news, honey? It was all you last night. I was numb. My memory was completely blank. No way. Cole placed a contract in front of me. It had my fingerprint on it. It stated that I'd be his mistress and he'd pay me 10 grand a month. This can't be mine. Really? He chuckled. You sure? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. He held up a voice recorder. I happened to catch your little soliloquy last night. Want to hear it? All your dirty little thoughts? My body shook. Shame washed over me. These feelings I kept locked away were now exposed. Cole's eyes were cold. You want a married man, huh, Tara? This tape would be interesting to your friends. I clenched my hands. Are you doing this to get back at me? Yeah, he said, you screwed me, why can't I mess with you? 2 choices. You stick to the contract, or I release the tape. The clock ticked in the corner. I was cold, numb, and my lips were cracked. I looked up. Release the tape. His eyes hardened. I said, I'm not going to be a mistress. Cole stared at me, then smiled. Tara, who do you think you are? You think you have the right to choose anything at this point? I found my clothes in a pile in the bathroom, all crumpled up. Cole's things were hanging neatly on the door. The contrast stung. I got dressed and left. Chloe called, her voice tight. Tara, they want 50,000. The sky was gray, devoid of sun. To get me treatment, Chloe hadn't saved much. My funds were running low too. They say if we don't pay, they'll release your story, and they won't tell us where your mom's things are. I'll try to get an advance on my pay, and I'll borrow some money. We'll have it next month. Okay. After hesitating, I dialed a number. He answered after a while. Tara, is everything okay? I took a breath. Dr. Yang, I'm sorry to bother you, but... Dr. Yang sounded busy. He finally went to a quiet place and asked, trouble? I inhaled. Can I borrow 40,000? It was the first time I'd ever asked for a loan. My body burned with shame. Then a hubbub broke out on the other end. Dr. Yang, emergency surgery. Got it. I hadn't had much hope, bracing myself for him to hang up. But then Dr. Yang quickly said, send me your account details. I'll transfer it today. And then the line was dead. Even the cold static suddenly had a hint of warmth. That evening, my manager tapped my desk. You're with us at dinner tonight, with the clients. A few hours earlier, I'd asked for an advance. I'd managed to scrape together the 50 grand, including the loan. As I walked into the private room, I saw Cole. He was chatting with everyone. The chandelier made him look even more handsome. My manager gave me a gentle nudge. Everyone looked at me, Cole included. "Mr. Sterling, is this one of yours?" Cole glanced at me and replied, "Yeah, she's new." "What new recruit needs the owner's supervision? She's cute." The others started to seat themselves. The manager sat me next to Cole. "You have to do your part. Drink up." Everyone asked, "Mr. Sterling, can she hold her liquor?" Before Cole could answer, the manager responded, "Oh, she can handle it." He pushed a glass in front of me. "Let's have a toast." Cole just smiled, tapping his finger on the table. I raised the glass and drank. The liquor hit my throat, burning its way down to my stomach. They cheered and got ready for another round. Cole changed the subject. "So, where were we?" Everyone drank a lot. Many people toasted Cole, but he used his bad stomach as an excuse. The drinks kept coming my way instead. I finally had enough. I made a beeline to the restroom. I kept dry heaving, and my hair was starting to get wet in the sink. I sent Chloe a text, and then I collapsed onto the sink. I heard footsteps and the door opened. I assumed it was another woman. But then Cole's voice broke the silence. "Are you already done?" I gathered my strength and pushed myself up, wobbling as I tried to walk past him. He grabbed my arm, pulling me back. His touch sent a fire down my neck. "Let go of me." My throat was raw. He pulled me in front of the mirror. "Look at yourself, going out like this. Anyone could take advantage of you." My eyes were red, and my cheeks were flushed. My hair was a mess, my collar open. Cole's eyes devoured my body through the reflection. I closed my eyes, shivering. "Who is more dangerous than you?" He chuckled and kissed me on the ear. "Come home with me tonight, okay? Go to hell." He kissed me again, taking away my air. The alcohol surged through my blood like a volcano. Everything was a blur. The water was like acid. It hurt so much. I started to sweat. I weakly pushed him away, feeling dragged back to the darkness. "Cole, let me go." I fell, slamming to the bottom. I didn't feel anything anymore. "Tara." Cole's voice. It didn't sound like he wanted me dead. He sounded scared. I was confused. Was this Cole then? Or Cole now? I whispered, "I don't want to see you anymore." I had a terrible fever. I was shivering, and my body was aching. I tossed and turned, and I dreamed of the past. I was on his back. "What if I die, Cole?" He gently walked me home. "Don't be silly. It's just a fever. You'll be fine." "Hey, are you sure you have enough money for doctor's visits? They're not cheap." "It's okay." "No, it's not. How many jobs are you working?" He didn't say anything. Then he put me down. He said, "If you're fine, nothing else matters." I was bundled up in my winter coat. "When Mom and Dad stop fighting, I'll ask them for allowance and pay you back." Cole patted my hair, his eyes gentle. "Trust me, we'll have plenty of money someday." I wasn't fine. The night of Cole's competition, I found my dad with another woman in my parents' bedroom. My life fell apart after that. My parents started to fight even more. My dad just left, and my family's debt piled up. Then came the night the guys came to my house. The lights flickered above me, the men screamed, I felt pain and nausea and my mom's screams. It all melted together into a nightmare. I saw my mom die in the bathtub. Chloe found me, almost naked, and took me away. I ended up in South City. One gray day, I sat alone, dressed in morning clothes, in a hospital corner, looking defeated. "She's got a history of depression and family trauma. Are there any relatives?" Chloe looked at me, worried. "She has a boyfriend, he's competing out of town." "Tell him to come here," the doctor said. She has suicidal tendencies, and she'll need people around for the next few years. Her family has to be prepared for a long fight. I wasn't well enough to go to the police. Chloe and I were like two stray dogs, running away from everything. The same day, Cole won the competition. He was going abroad. He called. The wind was howling on the other end. "Tara," he said, "I did it. In 3 years, I'll marry you." I watched the steel gate slowly close, unable to find my way home. "Cole, I can't be with you." I sobbed, my tears falling. He held his breath. "Why?" I hesitated. His future was bright. Did I want to tie him down in this mess? A little girl sobbed behind the fence. A boy was indifferent, angry. I saw love leave his eyes. It was heartbreaking. The wind blew my hair, revealing my bruises. I wiped my tears. "Cole, take care. It's over." I heard the beeping of the machines. The sun peeked through the blinds, resting on the couch. I opened my eyes. A man was carefully peeling an apple. His long fingers were skillful. It was Cole. He saw me, and he slowly got up and called for a nurse. The nurse checked me out. "She needs more nutrients. Pay attention to her protein intake." Cole nodded, "Thank you." When the nurse left, he came to my side. "Don't think about anything. Just get better." I didn't take the apple. Instead, I searched the room, looking for my things. My phone was gone. My clothes were gone. He let me tear the room apart. "Cole, what do you want?" I said, standing barefoot. The sun was harsh against my skin. "You don't know what I want?" He placed the apple on the nightstand. "I want you." He was bathed in light, his eyes on me. It was hot and humiliating. I shook. "You can't do this to me." He came to me, brushing my hair. "Why not?" "I'm seeing someone else. Leave me alone." "Really?" His face gave nothing away. He cupped my cheeks, leaning in, stopping just a millimeter from my lips. I closed my eyes, shaking. Cole chuckled. "Tara, you're lying." The private hospital was in the suburbs. I was stuck here. I'd tried to get help from the nurses, but they couldn't do anything. Cole came every day, usually in the evenings, rushing to see me, just to talk. I tried to avoid any intimate contact with him, and he didn't push it. Lately, I kept dreaming about the past. I'd always say Cole's name. I said, "Cole, you'll be rich someday." He'd sigh, "What kind of milk do you want?" "Banana." Cole had skipped class to get me banana milk. That was the first time he got in trouble. Then, in college, rumors about him and the hot girl flew around. I took the subway down to his dorm, and I cried. Cole came down, wiping away my tears. "Don't cry. I'm yours, I'll always be yours." It's not a real confession. He hugged me. "I love you." We couldn't have imagined this back then. "I'm getting married tomorrow." The sun was setting. Cole's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. "Anything you want to say?" I was drinking milk, staring at his face. I understood why I'd been dreaming about the past. I was saying goodbye to the old Tara and Cole. The news was filled with stories about him and Sarah. The golden couple. That's what we dreamed about. But I was a mess. What right did I have? "Congratulations," I said. "I wish you good health and happiness." Cole paused in peeling the apple. His knife nicked his finger. He looked surprised, and then his smile came back. "It's okay. Sarah and it's just for show. Do you want kids? I have no problem with it." "Cole, let's just stop this, okay?" I was tired. "Let's do it with some dignity." He threw the apple back into the basket, staring at me with a mocking look. "Just stop it? Why? You started this. And you get to quit and leave. What does that make me? A dog?" I closed my eyes. "Then I give you back everything." He froze. "What did you say?" I watched the sunset. "If you want me to suffer, I can die." He grabbed my chin. Tara, are you crazy? If you wanted to die, why didn't you just do it back then? I didn't know when he left. Later that night, Cole's friend Mark barged into my room. Tara, what did you promise? I was confused. Do you know how much Cole is losing because of this? You're an adult. Can't you just stop being selfish like before? Why can't you think about him? What do you mean? What do I mean? Mark laughed. Cole's calling off the wedding because of you. And you're asking me what I mean? My ears were ringing. His words didn't make sense. He'd called off the wedding. What was I doing now? Mark pulled me off the bed. Come on, you used to be good at this, right? You're bored, you want someone else, you can just leave, why can't you just say it? Mark. Tara. He shook. If you didn't come back, none of this would be happening. His anger made my senses shut down. I couldn't hear anything. His eyes were filled with hatred. Mark, he's not letting me go. Mark gave me a cold look. I'll get you out of here. The building was lit up late at night. Mark dragged me inside. The press conference had already begun. Cole was under the lights. I had a few differences with Sarah, so we decided to end it. Mark was seething, holding my wrist to stop me. So, the reason is a mistress? Cole smiled. It's a rumor. If there aren't any more questions, we'll end this now. He stood, and someone shouted. She's here. It's her. All the cameras focused on me. I was in shock. Reporters gathered around me. What's your relationship with Cole? Did you break up their wedding? The flashes went off. Cole stopped smiling and pushed through the crowd. No. I didn't. I tried to speak, but they were too loud. There's another scoop. One reporter held up his phone, playing a recording of me crying. Cole, I love you. It was the recorder. I was destroyed. She's a homewrecker. Shameless. Their whispers hit me like a punch. Sorry. Mark, take her away. Cole was pushing people away, his face changing. I was lost. Then I heard it, her dad owed money, her mom killed herself. She was diagnosed with severe depression. She's been in a mental institution for 5 years. The crowd exploded with outrage. What's a mental case doing here? She's a sicko. Cole froze. His face looked at me. Shock. Disbelief. I sat there, my blood running cold. Tara. He was trembling. I waited for the end. And she's been assaulted. That was the last piece of the anonymous story. Cole's face went white as a ghost. 9. Cole's point of view. After that day, Cole didn't speak. The blinds had been closed for 3 days. His phone was filled with calls. He didn't answer. Cole sat, defeated. He remembered Mark's cold voice. We were all hoping she'd survive, Mr. Sterling. You didn't even try, and now it's all for nothing. Chloe had been outside, shouting, Cole, she's gonna relapse without her meds. What you're doing is inhumane. Depression. Mental hospital. Those words were like thorns, twisting in his mind. Mark knocked, opening the door a crack. Dude, you okay? Why? His voice was rough. Why did you do this to me? Mark was silent. I'm sorry, I thought it didn't matter, so I. The info was wrong, wasn't it? His voice was quiet. Mark, when you said she was living it up with guys overseas, Tara was in a mental hospital in South City. I'm sorry, dude, I had no idea. It was a hollow excuse. Cole didn't care about excuses. Chloe barged through, ignoring the secretary. I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling, I couldn't stop her. It's okay, leave us, Cole said. The door closed. The room was dark again. Chloe stood, looking as if she didn't want to be near me. Mr. Sterling, maybe it's time you should hear some facts. The window was slightly open, and the wind was freezing. Cole sat there, listening. Last year, on Tara's birthday, I asked her who she liked most. She said, her mom, and Cole. Cole closed his eyes. She'd just gotten better. She only needed to take a tiny pill to be fine. So, this year, when I wanted to return her mom's things, I brought her here. Chloe's eyes were red. She said she felt bad about how things ended. She just wanted to see you and your success. She thought she didn't deserve you. Cole, does she not deserve you? Do you even know how you got the chance to compete? He clenched his hands. It was Tara. She blew the whistle so they would make it fair. She was attacked after that. Cole's throat was closing. She had been hurt. Was that why she'd given up? Chloe said. When you were competing, you didn't call for a week. So you didn't know that her dad ran off with a woman and all those debt collectors tried to kill her and her mom. Her mom killed herself, she got hurt, and she lost it. I could never leave her side. She was completely broken. Chloe stared at Cole. When you got into an accident, Tara asked me to let her die. How do you come back from something like that? His face was ashen. He'd let her get drunk. He lured her into his room. He'd used the tape against her, just to see her suffer. He kept shaming her. And then he locked her up. Chloe visited and he'd ignored her. He'd asked if she was crazy, why she hadn't died. She started to stare at him, silently asking him how he could be so cruel. He thought she still loved him. Why didn't you tell me? Chloe broke down. How was I supposed to? She was so sick, she didn't want to drag you down. You were her priority. She just wanted you to be happy. Did she deserve this, Cole? Did she deserve this? He knew the truth. He had always been the one who should die. We tried to find ways to keep her alive. We found out one thing worked. Cole didn't want to hear it. Chloe said it was your name. Her hero. When I left, I jokingly said I'd never come back. I was wrong. I was sick again. South City was dry in the winter, but this year it had snowed. The nurses said it's a cold winter this year. Climate change is so real. It was almost New Year's, and the trees outside were bare. I rested my head against the glass. There's someone downstairs. He's been standing there every day, isn't he cold? Chloe came in with warm milk. Oh, really? I'm sure he's doing just fine. She'd been in a bad mood lately. Even Dr. Yang was off. I was being careful to not piss them off. Chloe suddenly seemed worried. Drink your milk. Dr. Yang says that you're going to build a snowman later. I looked at the person again. It seemed familiar. Chloe closed the blinds. Don't look, you'll get a headache. Okay. I got back in bed, took my pills, and started playing a game. Chloe and Dr. Yang were talking outside. Then, he came in. I hid the phone, I took my meds. The smell of sanitizer filled the room. Dr. Yang scanned me. I won't tell on you for playing games. My face went red. I took the phone out. How did you know? I play that game. That music's familiar. He washed his hands and took off his lab coat. Get dressed, it's time to build a snowman. He was a heart surgeon. I met him in the fall. It was a sunny day. I was trying to pick up a ball of yarn through the fence. Dr. Young stopped to look at me. I was out of breath. Can you help me pick that up? He looked at the sign. According to rules, you can't have any dangerous objects. When I didn't move, he asked, what do you want to do with it? Cat's cradle. He checked his watch and kneeled. Okay, I'll play with you, and take the rope away after. His break was short. I reached out and played for a while. Thank you, I said as he left. I saw him a few more times. He was always busy. Then, one day, he showed up with the rope. Sorry, I was too busy. Then he started to talk to me. You don't talk much. Yeah, I shouldn't. Why? I'm sick. I can't say anything happy, I shouldn't share negativity. Dr. Yang had said nothing. He began to visit more often. I learned a few jokes. He always listened to me. He asked, "What do you wish for, Tara?" "I hope everyone's happy, including myself." I got ready and held Dr. Yang's hand as we walked outside. The snow fell all around, and my hat was soon covered in white. Dr. Yang gave me a small shovel. "Don't push yourself too hard." "Okay." The cold air made me happy, and I walked around the frozen fountain. When I turned, I saw Cole standing not too far away. He had red eyes, a beard, and he just looked at me. "Cole?" My voice was soft, surprised. He moved his lips. "Tara, I messed up." I would have asked, "What do you mean?" before, but now I just said, "It's okay." I had suffered too much. The wind howled. Cole kneeled in front of me. "How can it be okay? Tara, please say something to me." I held the shovel, looking down. "I wish you all good health in the new year." Cole's face went blank. He started to tremble. "Don't do this to me, please." I touched his face, and he was cold. I held his face. "I wanted to see you again with Grace, but things went badly." "I'm sorry, it's my fault," he said. "If I had I left your life. It's no one's fault." I spoke slowly, feeling sad. "I asked my friend if you were going to the reunion. I didn't know why he lied. I just wanted to know you were okay." Cole started to cry. "I'm so sorry. I did it on purpose." "Oh." I smiled, not knowing how to feel. "Tara, I'm sorry, I wasn't there for you." He touched my wrist, revealing the scar. "It's okay. I don't want to tie you down, so we can fight later about the past." I pulled away the snow from his eyelashes. "Cole, seeing you successful makes me happy. I wanted to make money for you." Cole said, "What do I have without you?" I blinked. "Look, my scarf is like $100. I have enough money now." His eyes went dead. "We can't go back, can we?" "Cole, you have your life. I have mine. I won't go back to the city." I couldn't forgive or forget what he'd done. We had memories. We were human. I was done for, so I couldn't go back. It would hurt much more than losing love. Cole took a breath, grabbing my hand, trying to warm it up. "I am sorry for the recording. I made you say it. I never touched you that night." My eyes started to burn. "Cole, please, apologize. Say you're sorry." He tried to memorize my face as we were saying goodbye. "I'm sorry." I patted him on the shoulder, and I didn't say it's okay. "Cole, have a good life." The snow kept falling. I turned and walked, the wind blowing me around. The wind picked up behind me. Was it the wind? Or Cole's crying? Dr. Yang was in his tan coat, his hands in his pockets, waiting in the streetlights. I could see his face. I got closer. He said, "What did you see?" I flicked the snow from my hat, looking up. "Dr. Yang?" "Yeah? Thank you." A few days later, I saw Cole in the news. He was thinner. He was being honest about everything he'd done. He made me say those words in the recording. He showed the contract between him and Sarah. They were set to break up 2 years after their engagement. They never wanted to get married. That night, they were meant to release a statement about the breakup. This ruined his company. Mark called me. "Tara, I'm sorry, I owe you an apology." He said that he picked the wrong side. Sarah had released my personal information. Those debt collectors wanted $50,000, but Cole took me to the hospital. Sarah then paid them double for my records. He worried about Cole, and he wondered if I'd come back. I gave him the same answer. I'd said everything I could. 3 months later, my health was stable. I was going home. Sunlight came in. Spring was here. The familiar smell came in again. It was Dr. Yang. Got any food? I've been busy all day, give me something. He was always busy, always eating here. I took off my scarf, revealing the pastries. Dr. Yang took it. I stared at him. Why are you looking at me? You're easy to feed. Dr. Yang smiled. Are you thinking of settling down here? Why? Well, I have an apartment and it's free. I thought for a moment, are you broke? He seemed honest enough. I don't have any money, so I can't afford a tenant. I'm very cheap. He was joking. I get scared alone. He was trying to trick me, but I couldn't tell for sure. The day I got out, the wind blew. I was smiling, but I crossed the street and forgot the light. Dr. Yang dragged me back. I landed in his arms. He grabbed my hand. You. Yeah, I'm after you. He spoke softly, smiling. The kids were playing, and my heart started to beat faster. I was nervous, but I looked at him. I've loved someone for a long time, and I'm not sure. His eyes were gentle. Tara, I've loved someone for a long time, too. Give me a chance. My eyes were watering. I'm no good, I've had problems, my body. Tara, you said you want everyone to be happy, including yourself. He winked. I hope your dream comes true. The wind blew through his hair. The spring had finally arrived. 13. Cole's point of view. In the next winter, Sarah's company went bankrupt. Cole also sent all the people that had hurt Tara to prison. After a few disasters, Cole's company survived. He was alone in the office one day. It was snowing. He'd been working for 2 weeks straight. It reminded him of the previous year. Tara was at the reunion. He'd seen shock and fear in her eyes when he showed up with Sarah. He kept dreaming of that moment. He could change everything. He would have broken up with Sarah, and he would have called the police on the manager. He wouldn't have said anything bad to her. He would see her again, with Grace. She'd come back and held him and told him everything. She'd cry and he'd comfort her. He'd ask her to marry him. They would have a house. He and Tara would take wedding pictures. She'd be smiling and holding his hand. He'd wake up alone, listening to the clock. Time kept going, but Tara wasn't there. She had left. She wished him well, and he was left with pain. He got sick, because he was working too much. He woke up again. He looked out the window, and saw the cold moon. It reminded him of Tara. He missed her. The next day, he booked a flight to South City. It was snowing again. He found the address. It was getting dark. He waited in the corner. Half an hour later, he heard Tara, that place doesn't make good beef stew. You should buy some so I can make it. Chloe likes it, so let's invite her over. Cole looked up, and he saw her again. She had on a white hat, or maybe it was pink or gray. You couldn't see. She was a bit bigger now, walking steadily. Next to her was a tall man, with glasses, looking at her lovingly. He looked up and froze when he saw Cole. They didn't say anything. Hey, Dr. Yang, are you listening to me? It was the same tone, but she was talking to someone else. Dr. Yang pulled away. I'm listening. You want to make beef stew, but you burned the pot last time. I haven't bought another one. Tara looked sad. Oh, sorry. He patted her hat. You go home, the kid is hungry. Where are you going? To buy a pot. And beef? I'll buy everything. So urgent? Yeah, we'll eat it tonight. Tara ran into the building. Dr. Yang finally looked over at him. Cole was silent. Then he said, Congratulations. Dr. Yang smiled, Thanks. He knew that Cole was mistaken. The kid was their cat. But he wouldn't explain, because Cole had his chance a year ago. Her health. Stable, doctor. Young said. She's got a good personality. She's a good woman. Cole knew she was doing well. He had seen her happy. Doctor. Young looked through his glasses. How many years have you known her? 14. You know more than I do. Her birthday is soon. I want to get her something. Snacks, chips, not chocolate. It just came out. Dr. Young nodded. Thanks. 14 years. You know more than I do. Those words showed his disapproval. If he knew, then why was he so cruel? Cole. That voice rang out. Cole turned, and he saw her face again. She had an umbrella, and she was holding another one. What are you doing here? Cole felt pain. She was honest and kind. She had moved on. He said, business. I met Dr. Young. A neighborhood? She was suspicious. Dr. Young said, why are you back? She gave him the umbrella. It's snowing. I don't want you to get sick. Her cheeks were red. That stung. Want to come inside? Dr. Young asked. Cole said, I have a flight to catch. She got her coat. Wait. She ran inside. Dr. Young looked at him, and then he went back inside. Cole waited. The snow was falling harder. The sky was dark. His stomach started to hurt. Mark called. Dude. He was hesitant. Your scans are back. It's stomach cancer. Cole just stayed there, and he looked up at the sky. Okay. He hung up. He waited for her. The light came out and it rested on the snow. Tara came alone. Dr. Young had wrapped her in layers. She had a red box in her hands, and she came to him. I made some cookies, take them. Cole took them. He knew she liked to bake a long time ago. They used to taste bad. He had eaten all of the failures. He told her not to go into the kitchen. Now she could do it. She said, thanks for the donation. He knew she worked with mental patients and she needed funding. She'd save a small amount for rent. Cole said, no problem. He looked at her face. It's cold. Go home, I won't come back again. Tara smiled. Why not? You'll be at an award show and I'll ask you to come. Cole was speechless. She turned around and stopped at the door and she called out, Cole. He looked up, his heart beat faster. She was smiling. Happy New Year. It was a normal wish. Not even for good health. Cole's heart went silent again. He said, Happy New Year.